You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 118. Donovan Janus is with me, and we're talking about how to launch your company.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
Donovan Janus is an entrepreneur with 20 years of experience doing his own thing. His latest company, 17 Hats, had success with a soft launch. So before he officially launched this thing, he was already making money. I talked to him about that. He's going to give you advice on how you can do the same. It's an amazing story. You're going to get a lot out of it. We're also going to talk about investors. Listen up. Donovan, thanks for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
So 17 Hats is the company, and in your words, describe 17 Hats.
17 Hats is the all-in-one business management system for self-employed people. Basically, everything you need to manage your business on a daily basis. So you use CRM, project management, invoicing, online contracts, bookkeeping, time tracking, and all that stuff.
You've been a career entrepreneur for a while.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, you've never worked a day job except for a short stint for about 18 months. Is that right?
Yeah, and that was 18 years ago. And that job actually was for a magazine called The Firm, and it was back in the Netherlands. And this magazine advised self-employed people how to better manage their business. So that's where I got the bug.
We'll overlook that then. We're going to say your career never worked a day job.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the trenches, even with that, especially with that maybe. You know what entrepreneurs need. How did you come up with the idea for 17 Hats?
So my wife made the jump from being a full-time teacher to being a full-time wedding photographer about 3 years ago. Like many creative professionals, she loves what she's doing with photography, but when it came to doing the administrative stuff of her business, that's not really where her passion lies. So she needed something to help her managing all those different hats, so to speak. And while there was a different app for all those things, none of them really communicated well together, so there was a lot of duplication, a lot of extra effort, and a lot of different learning curves. So at that moment, the light bulb went off, and wouldn't it be great if you can have all the things you need in one simple-to-use package that actually knows what goes on in your business. So when you send out an invoice, it can automatically update your contact record as well as your bookkeeping. And that's how the idea was born.
I'm curious about the launch, because I know the soft launch, what we refer to it as, very, very successful. Can you talk more about how you launched and the success that you had just initially?
I've launched different products before and always had mixed results with launching. So when we knew we were going to launch, and I read this very interesting book called Zero to Launch. And it basically advised you hey, if you have a mailing list, ask those people for help on your idea and kind of start pre-marketing that way. So what we did, because we didn't have a mailing list, we went out and advertised on a mailing list targeted to photographers and said, hey, we're coming up with this new thing, 17 Hats. We'd love to get your feedback. And we did that 1 month prior to launch. And we expected to maybe get a couple of hundred people that said, hey, let me know when you go live. Well, in fact, we got 3,500 people that responded within 2 weeks that said, hey, let me know when you go live, and please go live as soon as you can because I really need this. And we were kind of blown away by that. And also meant hold on, we can't really support that many people on day one, right? Well, I'm not personally a fan of invite-only product launches. We really didn't have a choice. So we decided to go invite-only for the first month. That then became this huge marketing success by itself. So at the end of the month, we had about 4,000 people that signed up for a trial and 700 paying users, which really blew away our expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a very hot market.
Mm-hmm. Once we launched with photographers, they just kept referring it. And we just closed this deal with the Freelancers Union, actually, where members of the Freelancer Union will get a nice discount when they sign up for 17 Hats. So the great thing about 17 Hats is that it really works for any type of solopreneur that deals with clients, regardless whether you're a photographer or a doula or a graphic artist. It just works really well for them.
Well, let's take it back to photography, though. since you did launch with that, your wife's a photographer. Obviously, you understand photographers, and she really understands photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Was the initial soft launch, other than the email that you sent to a photography list, your copy, the visuals that you used, was that targeted to photographers? Did you niche down instead of doing the general freelancer things that you're doing now? Was it just for photography?
No. The only thing that we did is that in our video, it says that the user is a wedding photographer, because we had to pick a niche in the video. But all our materials and copy were all focused on any business of one. I think our tagline when we launched was the smart business management app for businesses of one. So right from the start, we wanted to have it as broad as possible.
It seems like a great opportunity for you, though, seeing the success that you had with photographers. Maybe retool that video. You mentioned doulas or another specific type of freelancer. It seemed like you could launch this thing literally again and again and again without going public. Have you ever considered that?
This is one of those things where being that successful kind of overnight is a double-edged sword. Because once we launched and we had that many users, we really weren't quite ready for that. So we had to scale up our customer support and then obviously manage our existing users. And we have 2,100 paying users as of last week. So one of the things that we just did, we raised a small seed round of about $1.2 million that just closed this week, actually. And that now kind of allows us to hire more people so we can really actively target all these markets and try to kind of relaunch into each market separately.
Let's dive deeper into the launch and having too many people. That's one of those things that a lot of entrepreneurs, they think, man, if I only had this many people. But as you mentioned, double-edged sword. So what are some of the things that came up because of having too many people? You mentioned a lot of customer service that you maybe didn't account for?
Yeah, one of the things that happened is that because it's a somewhat new concept where everything is in one system, from CRM to bookkeeping, we got a lot of people that are very excited. But one of the other things when you launch a tech company is that typically you launch before everything is perfect, right? Because otherwise you'll never launch. So because people were so excited, what happened was that we got overwhelmed with feedback and feature requests. So in order to combat that, we signed up for a new help desk system where people could put in their request, they can vote on it, and it really helped us manage those users because now they had a place where they could put in their feedback. They could have other users vote on it, and it really offloaded our customer support because when you get that many people sign up, you obviously want to keep that enthusiasm going, but doing it manually was just too much to handle.
I love that. So you're asking for feedback, but then that feedback goes public, and only the best ideas survived. It's like feedback Darwinism.
Exactly. Yeah. And that way it also kind of helps us because it's very hard, at least for me, to tell people like, I like your idea, but we're just not going to do it because it doesn't affect enough people. When people go online and they see, hey, I put my idea up, but I only got 3 votes versus this other idea that got 200 votes, it's really easy to explain and people get it.
Right.
You don't really have to disappoint them.
On a related note, you as somebody who has launched several things over the last several years, how do you know if an idea is going to work? Or how do you know if it's worth pursuing?
Yeah, that's the billion-dollar question, of course. One of the things that we did launch a little MVP in the photo market a few years ago just to see if people understood the concept. And what we saw is that people loved the concept, but that the part has to be extremely simple to use in order for it to work. Because we saw people signing up, but they never really started using the product. So what we did with 17 Hats is that we hired a director of UX, user experience, as well as user research. And we spent a lot of time talking to users. Another really good book that I read a few years ago is called Nail It, Then Scale It. And it really talks about talking to users before and understanding their pain points and then going back and develop the software. So our typical process is talk to the users, draw up some mock-ups, then go back to them and say, hey, is this something you would use? Is this useful? And then from there, build it. And then what we saw with the soft launch, basically a month before we even opened the site, is that we asked for that feedback, and everybody came back saying, launch today, please, because I need it right now. So at that point, we really knew we were onto something.
And these were already paying customers.
At that point, they were not paying customers. This is when we sent it out to this rented mailing list, so to speak, and just asked for feedback like, hey, is this something you will use? What do you think? And are you interested in being alerted when we go live?
So a follow-up to that, something that I've found, I'm curious to know if you found it as well, is that people will say one thing, but until they actually put their money down, you really don't know. You're still rolling the dice. It's good feedback, but will it work? Who knows? Did you find that to be true? Or did everybody come through on this?
I wish, right? So yeah, no, I've definitely found part of that to be true. I mean, a lot of people will say, this is great, and I'll definitely pay for it. And then when you launch it, they don't. But we found enough people, and I think we did enough of our user research that when we did go live, we had people pay on the first day. You can sign up for our system without a credit card, but then within the system, there's a little promo item that says, hey, if you upgrade today, you can get a nice discount. And 1 hour after we opened the site, we had our first payment. And at that point, okay, people actually are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, that's when it's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because up until that point, there's a lot of excitement. But until you get that first dollar, you just don't know whether people are willing to go ahead and put their hard-earned cash in.
Did you test pricing or ask people about pricing before you actually launched it?
Yeah, so we did that actually a couple of months, prior, and we just sent it out to all the solopreneurs that we knew ourselves. We did I think it's called a Van Westendorp price study. It's actually a Dutch study or Dutch system where you ask, what is too much? What do you think is right? At what point do you think it's too low? And there's one other question that I can't remember right now. But you get basically a matrix, and out of that matrix, you get the ideal, price point.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, it tells you the number you can sell the most units at, the price you can sell and have some success with, and then there's that cross-section of the perfect price and the absolute number of most units, where that's the profit, where you're best of both worlds. And having done one of those myself, I was blown away.
Yeah,
it's like voodoo.
Absolutely, and it worked amazingly well. And it's funny because when you initially start to build the system, like, oh, this is worth so much, right? And then you start thinking to yourself, like, hey, what would I pay for this? And I'm like, well, if I have to be honest, if I sign up for a system like this, I probably wouldn't want to pay more than $30 a month. And that's exactly what we got out of the pricing study. Between $20 and $30 a month was the ideal price point. So we tested that pricing. That's the pricing right now. We offer a yearly plan that has worked really well. We actually see more people sign up for the yearly or bi-yearly plans than the monthly plans, because at that point the pricing really goes down to the $15 a month mark.
That was my next question. Do you have any insight on the length of billing that you should go for?
One of the things that we did, we don't have a credit card required to sign up, but obviously we want people to convert. So we make the yearly plan very attractive. And the reason we do that is from a business perspective is that you can spend a little bit more money advertising to acquire a customer if that cost is covered. Right? With a monthly revenue, it's much harder to earn back that revenue, and you need to raise a lot more money to be successful. We really like to sell yearly plans or bi-yearly. And there's another reason for that, is because when people sign up for a business management system or any system like us, you're trying to change a habit. What we see is that people sign up for yearly are far more committed, and they become much more successful users than people that sign up for monthly and think, oh, I'll just get started next month, and then the next month, and then after 2 or 3 months they say, I didn't get started, I'm gonna cancel the account. Whereas with yearly, we see people really get going within the first week.
This business started with just you?
Yes, and my business partner Reza that I've been working with for like 18 years.
So you've launched some other stuff together?
Yeah, he was actually my first hire at the company that I worked for 18 years ago. And then when I left the company to launch my first company, he was our first employee. And then from there, we've been partners ever since.
So you've got two people that get along. You've got your wife that's telling you what you need
to do, right?
You know what is needed, but you've expanded beyond that. What are your thoughts on when to expand, who to hire, what to look for in new hires?
if you're a tech entrepreneur and you're trying to launch a startup, it all comes down to how good your product is. And I've got a development background, so has my business partner, but we're your typical developers. And